Hello, everybody. Welcome to Where Connection Lives, a conversation series with from Chair Call. We are exploring the power of human connection, the impact of loneliness and isolation, and the simple yet profound ways meaningful conversations can change lives. At Chair Call, we believe that companionship, comfort, and a caring voice can uplift spirits, ease burdens, and remind every person that they are valued and never alone. In this series, we bring heartfelt discussions with experts and advocates who work on the front lines of emotional health, community care, and human connection. Today, I am honored to welcome a special guest, Audrey. She is a licensed home health therapist with extensive experience of supporting individuals through life's emotional challenges. She has seen firsthand how loneliness and isolation can affect mental and physical well-being, and they bring deep insight on how connection, even outside of therapy, plays a vital role into overall health. So, thank you again, Audrey, for coming out to my talk show. And so, if you can introduce yourself for the viewers, please.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm Audrey. I'm an occupational therapist, and I used to work in skilled nursing facility, but now I work in a home health setting. So I go to clients' houses and then assess their level of independence and safety and self care tasks. And so yeah, I've been doing this for a year or two. So yeah, I have some experience with working with clients in their home settings.
Thank you so much, Audrey. And so, in your work as a occupational therapist, how often do you see loneliness or social isolation affecting your clients?
Yeah, I'd say about 60% to 70% of my clients experience some degree of loneliness or social isolation.
Mm.
And in home health, I usually see patients after they're discharged from the hospital. So technically, they have caregiver support at home, but emotionally, they still feel isolated because of their physical limitations and safety concerns. They're often homebound and they can't freely go out of to engage in the activities that they enjoy. So that loss of independence can affect their mood and their motivation. So a big part of my role in helping them is to for them to see therapy as a pathway, not just to regain physical recovery, but also for them to be able to participate in the things that they enjoy and therefore increase their quality of life.
And so, apart from you, do they, have anybody else at home that they can rely on for this therapy after getting discharged from the hospital?
So before we discharge a patient, we will make sure that they're safe to be discharged. So either like they become more independent in self care, in navigating the house, or like they have caregiver support.
Okay. And so, for caregivers, do you work alongside with them in promoting their wellness of life, or
Yes. Yeah, we often work together with their caregiver or family members. Yeah, we would like, ask for their insight and like if during the therapy sessions, like, um what stops them from like engaging or like what motivates them to do more. So yeah, we work together a lot with the caregivers.
do they tend to rely heavily on caregivers, or do they also have like family or friends that they can also rely on as well?
It depends. I mean, I see a lot of them who live by themselves, like
Mm,
my clients. So yeah, and they occasionally will have like caregiver support, like during the day or at night. And some of them have like 24-hour caregiver assistance. It just depends on their, um, I guess, level of independence and safety. Yeah, in navigating the house.
and what is the typical age range of your clients?
They usually between 60 to 90.
Okay.
They're older people
Okay.
because home health is for people who can't really go out safely.
Mhm.
Homebound, yeah.
Okay. Well, what are some ways loneliness shows up emotionally or behaviorally in people that you work with, even when they don't name it loneliness?
Right. Yeah, they will usually say things like, what's the point? Or I don't feel like it. And rather than saying, I'm lonely, they usually express disinterest or lack of energy, lack of motivation. So these are often emotional signals for unmet connection needs.
And like you said, you work with older clients, and so I think I just want to go back to my previous question. With these older clients, are do you see more involvement with the families anymore, or is there like a lack of communications with family?
Um, it really depends, but yeah, I would say like maybe 50% or 60%. Like a lot of them, they live by themselves.
Hmm.
Um, and they're old, so like their kids are probably like adult too, and they have their own family, and so they usually like just live by themselves. And yeah.
And so, you know, uh, with your profession, what happens when loneliness goes on unaddressed in people's lives, especially in older adults, like the elderly?
Yeah, so when they're isolated and not having enough support, that can lead to depression and like loss of purpose and just excessive rumination. And we know that humans, we are wired for connections, and we regulate our emotion through relationships. So yeah, and especially when like they're sick, when somebody's sick and inactive and alone, and their thoughts can spiral. So
Mhm.
healing happens in safe relationships, and without those bonds, emotional pain and physical pain tend to deepen rather than resolve.
And so, why do you think people struggle to admit, that they are lonely, that they need some sort of connection, even to a therapist?
I would say maybe there are a few reasons. Maybe the first one, maybe they think that there's no point in to see a therapist. Like they will think like, oh, I'll still be alone, when you leave, when the session ends. Or maybe shame because loneliness feels like a personal failure rather than human need. But we know that needing others is not a weakness. It's just part of how we're designed to heal.
I agree with that. And so, what are some signs that families or caregivers should watch out for, when their client is experiencing loneliness? And of course, like you said, with loneliness and social isolation, there comes a time where people experience depression, other, symptoms of with mental health.
Some signs, maybe a clear one would be like just sleeping a lot, and they don't eat, and they forget a lot of stuff, and they're just disoriented, like the time and the place, um, and just lack of energy. Yeah, I would say those are some of the obvious symptoms. Yeah.
And outside of therapy sessions, how important is regular human connection for our own well being as a person?
Oh, it's very important. A lot of addiction and depression and emotional emptiness, they come from unmet attachment needs. And addictions usually isn't a substitute for for real connection. And if you don't have any real connection, then people, human, we will attempt to soothe the pain without relationships. And yeah, isolation can feel safe and familiar, but then we're not meant to heal alone. So regular and meaningful connection, it protects mental health in ways that therapy alone cannot.
I agree with that. And so, what difference does it make when someone has a safe person who simply listens without judgment or pressure to fix things in their lives?
Mhm. It's very, very healing because being seen, being heard, and being emotionally received, it lowers the stress level almost like immediately. And sometimes the most therapeutic thing is just simply having the space to cry and to release emotions without judgment. And that kind of presence really calms the nervous system and restores a sense of safety. And that is the foundational for change.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. One thing that I want to ask you is, why do you think people when they're experiencing these emotional discomfort, feel like they are such a burden to other people, to their friends or family, to simply express or talk about their feelings and emotions to other people,
Why do they feel it's a burden?
like it's a burden, yes.
Um, well, like maybe I would say like probably trauma from from when from before, like they sometimes like I would, yeah, it's I think it's kind of common to feel that way, like when we become vulnerable to someone, and like when we show our needs emotionally or physically or whatever needs, um then we feel like, yeah, we're asking for help, so that the other person would have to help us, and yeah, spend their effort and time to help us. So that, yeah, that I can see how that can feel like a, like a burden. But then, like one thing I would say though to someone who thinks that way, like vulnerability is not a burden, but it's an invitation to connection. And because relationship, it grows when needs are expressed. And people, usually they want a chance to show love and care. So, like
Mhm.
letting others see your need actually gives them opportunity to love you, and that's where healing usually begins.
Wow, yeah, that's very deep. And so, why do you think people? Why do you think being listened is so healing to people?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like I mentioned before, it just really lowers down your stress level, and just that safe space, it gives you that, that sense of like trust again in people. So when that sense of trust is developed, and yeah, if it developed, then like then you will create a meaningful bond and trusting bond with someone, and having that is is a start of your healing journey, or yeah, healing journey.
And so, have you noticed any changes in your clients who have gained, a more consistent social support or companionship, versus to clients you notice that don't have that much support in their lives or in their stages?
Yeah, it's very clear. Like my clients with a strong support system and like strong family support, they tend to heal faster, and they actually stay more motivated. And especially with, occupational therapists, like we give home exercises program, so they will tend to stay motivated to do that, and therefore like they're able to recover faster. And yeah, mental and physical health, they're interconnected. So like when people feel supported emotionally, their engagement and physical progress usually improve as well.
And so, for the people who may not need therapy, what kind of support do you think they can still make a meaningful difference in their lives?
Safe friendships, community, meaningful daily activities make a huge difference. And from an occupational therapy perspective, doing things that give life purpose, like hobbies, routines, roles, and just like doing something that contributes to others, that contributes to society, that greatly improves the quality of life. So yeah, connection plus meaning is powerful.
With a lot of these things that they can be, that can be done alone, do you feel like they should still seek out connection or seek out some sort of group to get involved in to stay motivated?
100%. Like therapy, I would say like that therapy provides, structure and insight and tools, but then real life relationships is when like those skills are practiced and reinforced. And yeah, community, that healing happens when we feel supported both inside and outside of clinical space.
what something I've seen with a lot with the days of AI is that people are turning to artificial intelligence to fill that void of isolation. Rather than going out to talk to people, or like how you said, they have trauma that they experience, or that stigma that they decided to just reject connection entirely, and just sole purposely focus on some sort of artificial intelligence to have a conversation with them to fill that void, right? And so, what are some ways that people can just get connection, or have some sort of conversation, or reconnection with people?
Hmm. Well, I think like first, I know like when first of all, I think when we are already isolated, and and that kind of lead to depression, and it's gonna be hard to proactively reach out. But I think like I think start with just like caring for yourself, like doing things that helps you become more like energized, like take a walk, or like um establish a routine, and maybe just think of someone that you can like really talk to, and you can feel safe to talk with, um and yeah, hopefully that will kind of start that momentum of like creating safe relationships with people. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who feels lonely but thinks reaching out would be a burden to others? I think we talked a little bit about this, but can you, if you have some more information or advice to add to this?
Yeah. Just really remember, like, run it's not a burden to reach out to people, and there are people out there who love you, who care for you, and they want the opportunity to do that for you. And letting other people know what you need, yeah, actually give them the chance to love you. So don't be afraid to reach out, and um you might see, you will see good things that happen from there. Yeah.
I agree. And so, how can a non-clinical emotional support, such as chair call, work alongside therapy and home health aides instead of replacing it?
Yeah, they complement each other. um so yeah, like services like what you guys provide, um that can, I think, sustain and helps actually like the recovery, and like whatever they're working on, because like I said, like PTOT and like home health aid, like we come like twice a week or 3 times a week, and give and help to educate them, some tools that for them to be able to be more independent and safe at home. But for them to continue and maintain that level of independence and safety, it's good to have like support, and like to be for and also to have like a outlet for them to, whatever they're if they're frustrated or something, they can have somebody to talk to, because home health aid and PTOT, home health PTOT, we won't be there like all the time. Yeah.
And so, before I let you go, if there's one message that you want people to remember about loneliness and a connection, what would that be?
um well, you're not alone, even though that you may feel like you're alone, but there are resources out there, and there are people who care for you, and sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith, and just take that chance to just reach out to someone, and to let them help you. Yeah.
Well, Audrey, I want to thank you so much for coming on to our first episode of this series. Again, at Cherco, we provide emotional support for anybody that needs it. We offer free companion calls, and along with other additional paid subscription services. And so again, Audrey, thank you so much for coming out to the show. Thank you.
Thank you.